sometimes you have to spend money to get money. And do you ever look at what you can benefit from allocating the money to TV?
Well, my only comment to you is that when I first came on board, we expended substantial dollars because people felt the way you did, and the return was minimal. For purposes of investment, and this is my call, I'd rather make political contributions to those who are the decision makers, who are the ones who vote on our issues. Because you're not going to convince anybody outside there who's demonstrating of the righteousness of your cause. And for most of the time, the people who listen out there, whether they read or see TV, you know what? It's another commercial. So the only people who are going to pay attention to this message are those who have an investment in this cause. And we have found that the best way for now, is doing our radio commercials. And as I said, we have history from the past when we blew substantial dollars, which I thought was a waste of money, including ads in the New York Times, and you may have been around when they did it under David Dinkins, because we still have those posters. That's the only thing we have from that investment. The lady.
Okay. I really don't have a question because I read everything, but I have a point of information. I'm involved with the Mitchell Almonds, which are co-ops, okay, which is very different. Even though I am a small building owner, but I'm like the bad guy, you know, I'm supposed to be the rich guy. And this little group out here, it's not really little. You have over 20 organizations, including clergy, CWA. They're getting together very big, okay? They're getting a lot of funds. They're going out and sitting with all our politicians, with the borough president of Brooklyn. So they're getting tough, and they're against us. They're our enemy, okay? Because I guess they want to live for free, and I guess they want to run, you know, the little landlord out of town. And this is, a lot of people don't know this, and they say, what could we do? And like, I'm going back to your opening statement, that these people are out there. You don't see them here, but they're very big. This flyer is circulated everywhere.
Let me just point, my response to your point of information. These people that are on there will always be there. The simple fact is that when you have 1.2 million tenants who receive a subsidy of your children, and as all we've learned historically is that once you've provided an entitlement to somebody, entitlement I will define as whether it's Section 8, whether it's Social Security, whether it's any other program, and this is the greatest program because government doesn't pay for it, right? To try to take away any entitlement results in this kind of a response. But what's worse is that since you got 1.2 million tenants, and their relatives and they will vote, you've heard it before, there are a lot more tenants that vote than this industry. And at the end of the day, what's the most important thing for an elected official in the city of New York?
Yeah.
And that is why our strategy has always been, is you can't convince those people, those elected officials, they'll tell you privately, you're right, I'm going to have to vote against you. And that is why we have made a concerted effort of support for people who live outside the city of New York. And I will tell you one thing, we are very lucky this year because the chairperson of the Housing Committee for the Senate Republicans lives closer to Cleveland than she does to Albany. So it's much more difficult to send a bus or somebody to demonstrate in front of her district office. Okay? And I want you to know something. No elected official likes to see any 15, 20, 30 people demonstrating in front of their home district office. You make 20 phone calls into elected officials and they go crazy. So we're not surprised, and in fact, you know what, it's lip service. There are people who we have dealt with in the past who put their name on it because they told us that if they didn't put their name on it, they would be targeted and they'd get defeated. Yes?
What comes up with the formula for determining how much to charge a tenant for a washing machine? When was that formulated, and how can we change it now?
Okay. The agency, the entity that controls washing machines or any formula, whether it's electricity, sub-metering, it's much broader than that, is the state agency called DHCR, which all of you know because you have to submit your rent registration to that agency. If any of you believe that it is an agency run on the merits, then you're in the wrong place. It is a political entity controlled by whoever the governor is. Right? Now the formula as it related to washing machines, and somebody refresh my recollection, but I don't think it was George Pataki who we were able to convince to at least impose that charge. It never existed before. And once it got imposed, I don't care what the number is, it's very difficult now for them to get rid of it. Before you didn't collect. Did anybody collect here for washing machines? So you may have a problem with the formula because, as I said to you, it's controlled by a state agency, controlled by the governor.
But they increased water, the price of water almost every year.
That's the city of New York. They don't care what the city of New York does. This is a state agency. If you want to argue merits,
I know the price is going up.
let me just.
Crazy.
All right, I'll take. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you. I'm going to take the gentleman in the back, and there was another hand raised. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All I can tell you is that, you know, the question is the rate of abandonment in the city of New York has increased. Now, when you is that, did they say in the article based on what? Based on people walking away from their buildings because they can't make the payments? But let me tell you that the last couple of years, when we were at the Rent Guidelines Board, I can't believe how hot this place is. They turn in too good of a landlord. The last couple of years of the Rent Guidelines Board, the Department of Finance indicated that approximately 10% of all buildings in the city of New York were in the red, which meant that their expenses exceeded their rent roll. That's a red flag that this is a problem building. I think this year the number is going to jump from 10 to 16%, which means, and that's really more of a product of, it's not the rents as much as government is now imposing on each and every one of you between taxes and water and sewer, where you can't make it up based on rents. And I will be honest with you, this mayor doesn't care. This mayor does not care.
Yeah.
And if anybody thinks otherwise, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that I'd be saying this because in the first 4 years, I wouldn't have said that. But it's clear, there's a clear pattern that that's what they're doing. Your money machines, your ATM machines. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be the trend in the next 3 years until we have a new mayor. And we don't even know whoever replaces him is going to be any better. Who's number 2?